family? CTR Media Network. Yeah. Best in the biz. Yeah. Join the team. CTR is who we are, the media network, that's the best by far. Whether you listen at your home, at your job, in your car, come get the information that's needed above par. Never lasting, motivational podcasting, giving you the answers to the questions that you're asking. Serious talks and topics, how to come up and profit, how to better yourself, your health is here, we got it. Reaching 350 million, they tuning in. We in 50 different countries, we all can. And like-minded, find your purpose and your assignment. Come get your fix, your feel, your mental alignment. Get active and speak to the masses. Build your influence all levels and all classes. Now you know you can monetize and grow. CTR Media Network, start the show. CTR Media Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of CTR Media Network TV. We have an extraordinary guest who embodies the perfect fusion of influence and income. She's a global top 3% podcaster, a powerhouse strategist, and a mentor helping women build million-dollar multimedia empires. With podcasting at the heart of it all, please welcome to the show for CTR Media Network TV, the one and the only, yes, Shayna Rattler Davis. Welcome to the show.
Listen, I was enjoying that theme music. I was back here dancing. I like this.
Yes, because we're going to have a great discussion. I know that our audience is going to really enjoy you today in particular, because we are in this time, a unique time in history where we're shifting to digital. More people who have not thought about entrepreneurship, they're thinking about it because they need another source of income. And then content creators who want to know how to make an income through their content creating, podcasting, or so forth like that. So I'm very excited about this conversation. I've been looking forward to it. And so when I look at your incredible story, Shayna, what inspired you to merge with media and mentorship? And how did you discover the power of influence as a unique business tool?
What I realized, Tina, is that far too many people, especially far too many women, they're seen, but they're not paid well. You know, we're online, we have podcasts, we have social media, we have visibility, but we don't have profitability. And what I recognized is that while we may have the mission and the message in order to get us visible, we don't necessarily have the method that's going to get us paid and profitable. And I looked at over the years, when I first started out in business, I was a general business coach. And then I kind of merged into teaching small business owners and influencers how to land corporate sponsors and how to land corporate contracts. I've done that for myself for years. I've taught thousands of other people how to do the same. But what I recognized is that over the last 5 years that I've been podcasting, that it's so much easier in order for me to land those high value activities now that I have a show than when it wasn't. But when we look at what's going on in the world right now, and specifically as it lends itself to the question that you asked me about influence, we're in what I have coined as the influence economy. And it's where your visibility meets intention to create tangible results, like life-changing income, like shaping industries, like being able to completely shift everything around us. And now that we live in such a digital first world, influence isn't just for the celebrities anymore. Those of us that are on the other side of mics, those of us that are on the other side of keyboards, those of us that are inside of companies have the ability for our influence to have maximum impact. We just need a little bit of guidance most times on how it can create maximum income.
I agree with you, because like you said, we're living in a very unique span, a very unique shift in history. And I don't even think we really realize that we are a part of this new economy that is creating. And you were speaking about influence, and I know that you have helped, and you also mentioned how you came from corporate America and how you was able to get corporate sponsorships, which we're going to dig a little bit more into a little bit later. But I want to piggyback off of something that you said. You said that you've been able to help multiple people, but with you helping them get these major brands such as celebrities, everyday people doing extraordinary things, like I like to deem everyone who has an idea. Can you share one like behind the scenes moment that really showed you that the power of influence in action? Because I know podcasting is one, but have you seen something very specific that let you know that, let me start paying attention to how I can help people with influence?
Well, I think that influence is one of those words nowadays that I don't necessarily agree with the way that it's being used. I don't subscribe to being an influencer. If we're being honest, most influencers are not making real money. They're not making life-changing income. It doesn't require much influence to post about somebody else's stuff. And so what I hope that we can take away from this is that we have to treat our influence like currency. We have to treat our influence like an asset. And so what is the expertise that you have? What are the skills and the messages that you are already using to impact others? Everyone has influence over someone, whether it's just in your home, in your community, on your job, if you do have an actual audience as a result of your platform. And a defining moment for me wasn't because of what I was seeing that was happening right. The defining moment for me was, how is it that I have celebrity clients? How is it that I speak all over the world? How is it that I've been featured over 500 times? At the time, it was probably 250. I'm on the cover of magazines. I'm on the inside of magazines. I'm on the Wall Street Journal. But why is it that when I look at my bank account, that my income doesn't match my influence? So my aha moment for me is how is it that some of us can be so influential and can be so visible, yet the amount of money that we're bringing in doesn't match the level of influence? And for the people that are out there that are like, oh, it's not all about the money, you tell me who you can impact if you're broke.
Not very much. Not very much, because it's going to cost you money in order to be able to help them with events, with everything that we're doing right now. And so you said something that's very powerful. Your influence did not match your income. And I feel that this is going to hit home and it's going to resonate with so many people, for the fact that that is something that is universal when I go into these rooms, because they do not have a method.
Yeah.
They go out, they create all this amazing things. They do so much. They stay busy. But I like to say some people they're busy, blessed, and broke. And we want to stop being broke, okay? And so can you give them one thing that they can do that can possibly shift them from being broke, from having the influence without the income?
Absolutely. You have to create what I call visibility ROI. You have to align the visibility that you have with an ecosystem of products, services, and partnerships. That's the best way to get a return on investment from your visibility. I personally believe that if you're already impacting others with your message, with your skills, or with your expertise, that you should have a podcast. The problem is that, and y'all ain't gonna like me when I say this, but if you log off, I don't know what to tell you. A podcast without a business model is a hobby. And I see too many people have a podcast that doesn't make business sense. And if you do it correctly, your podcast can become the magnet for bigger opportunities, better clients, greater exposure, more income. And to me, if you can use your podcast to learn how to, let me just say this, it maddens me, the strategies that people teach podcasters to monetize. They say, sell some merchandise, get some affiliate links, get some ads. And if you really want to be savvy, sell some courses. And I'm not saying that anything is wrong with any of those things. However, if you learn how to use your podcast to start to land higher value opportunities like corporate contracts, like corporate sponsors, like high paid media engagements, like high paid speaking engagements, like lucrative book deals where they're paying you to write the book instead of you just self-publishing and bootstrapping everything in your business. Being able to create that ecosystem around your show, around your platform, if you want to only use something like social media and not traditional podcasting, that's what's going to elevate your income. So when you look at someone who has the mission and the message for the visibility, but they're missing the method for the profitability, you have to have the right vehicle. I think in this modern day world, it's a podcast, but you have to align that podcast with a monetization strategy that's going to cause you to stop stepping over dollars to get to dimes.
Stepping over dollars to get to dimes. Yes, because as for those of you who do not know, many people are just dependent on CPMs. And when you think about click per minute, I mean, it's pennies on the dollar. You may get, if you're good, maybe $20 per 1,000 listeners to get $20. But we need to think about it like this. What she said with monetization with different affiliate links and all that, yes, that is a way that you can make income, but it's a slow drip.
It's going to cover your expenses for your podcast, but it's not going to give you life-changing income. It's not going to shift into industries, and it's definitely not going to help you to leave a legacy. Like if you want to live the life on the level that you know you were born for, you have to be able to make more from your efforts than what it is that you're being taught. You don't have to abandon them if it's working for you. But what I'm saying is that there is a better, more profitable path that's going to get you to predictable and scalable income. Would you rather have a $250 sponsorship for a few episodes, or would you rather have a $25,000 contract? Would you rather have a $25,000 sponsorship for what it is that you're building outside of your show? I hope it's B. If it's not, then you like podcasting for play. I just like podcasting for pay.
Listen, I totally 100 agree with you. And for those of you who may not understand, you may be new to podcasting, or you may not be new. You just may be new to saying, I am tired of doing podcasting for free. It's time for me to get paid. Yeah. And so what she is doing is shifting our mindset to think about the most profitable ways in order for us to use podcasting, not as a hobby, but as a way to really change your life. And I know personally for myself, podcasting really changed my life. So how can someone go from maybe they're just doing affiliate, maybe they're just doing product placement, maybe they're doing some small commercial ads on their podcast, but they don't know what a corporate sponsorship or a corporate deal will look like? How do they even transition from pennies to millions?
Yeah, absolutely. So the very first thing that you have to do is brand yourself beyond your industry and create what I call a transcendent brand. One, like if you look at myself, for example, even though I've grown my podcast to the top 3% in the world, and even though podcasting is central to my strategy, I don't brand myself as a podcast expert. I brand myself as an influence expert. One is specific, one is scalable. So you have to look at your area of expertise in broader themes that can help you also appear to the mass market. So another example would be, let's say you are a health coach and you help moms lose weight. That's one way that you can serve the arena. But your master brand or your transcendent brand, if you want to look at it as kind of like an umbrella, might be women's total well-being. That's what's going to get a corporation to give you a big check. That's what's going to get the Today Show to want to bring you in, because it has more mass market appeal. Now, again, you don't have to abandon helping moms lose weight. That's just one arena, or one way rather, that you serve your arena. I like to look at it like divisions in my company. So as an influence expert in one division of my company, I help podcasters make serious money from their show by building $1 million multimedia empires with a podcast at the center. But on the B2B side, I work with women leaders inside of corporations to make sure that their influence is translating into income and growth. In that avenue, I might be working on executive presence. I might be working on how do you make sure that your thought leadership and your point of view shines through, even though you work inside of a company. Because like Tina and I were talking about before we started recording, even if you work for someone else, you are still a brand that is representing the organization that you work for. And the reason why I give you that is just for context of recognizing that if you do want to start to better position yourself, whether you have a podcast or not, if you want to begin to better position yourself for these higher value opportunities, you first have to brand yourself in a way that is going to have mass market appeal and not just a small sliver of a way that you can serve your niche. When you can do that, that's when you automatically become attractive for a sponsorship, for a partnership, for a contract, for mass media, and for a publisher to say, I want to pay you to write this book because I know we now can sell it to all these women who need total well-being instead of just moms that are looking to lose weight.
I love that. I love that. And when you talk about this influence economy, for those who you have really broken that down, but what is the thing that entrepreneurs or content creators, as they're building their influence, what is one thing that you see that they're doing wrong? Because we know it's a whole lot of things that we can do right. But my thing is, what are they doing wrong that they need to change right now so that they can position themselves better in this influence economy?
It's a mindset shift. We talked about it a little bit already of the fact that we have to view our influence like an asset. If you think about other assets that we own, whether it's a home, whether it's a car, whether it's, investments in the stock market, we're nurturing those assets, we're leveraging those assets, and we're growing those assets. We have to treat our influence the same way. That's why I believe that influence is the new currency, but only if we treat it like an asset. When we treat it like an asset and we have that small shift in the way that we think, that our influence and our podcast and all of the other different places that we have influence is a gateway to opportunity, that's when everything changes. But as long as we continue to see our job just as our job, our podcast just as a platform, as another way to get content out, because that's what most of us are doing. If we want to be honest, those of us that have social media platforms and those of us that have podcasts, we're really just using it for a content generation engine and not as much of an income generation engine that we could. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to see our influence and our platforms as a gateway to opportunity, and recognize that the influence that we have, if we own it, that's when everything changes. And then everything else after that is like, just get with somebody that can teach you how to do the things. If you're sitting there like, I don't know how to land a contract, work with somebody like myself that can show you how. But if you're not going to have the mindset shift of, I'm going to begin to own my influence and treat it like a currency, I'm going to begin to own my platforms and treat them like a gateway to bigger opportunity, the how-to is a moot point.
That is so true. On that note, we're going to take a small commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to dive deeper into this topic. We'll be back in a moment.
Hello, my name is Alethea Tucker, and I am the CEO of Jolie's Enterprises. I'm also the host of a show entitled Reinvent and Rise, and the host of a podcast entitled Leveling Up the Podcast with Alethea Tucker. I recently had the distinct pleasure of working with Tina Ramsey and CTR Media Network in one of her programs where she taught me how to get exposure for my podcast. She increased my visibility tremendously, and she showed me how to monetize both of my shows to make them revenue generating products. I am so ecstatic and so happy with the service that she and her staff provided to me. She went above and beyond what I expected, and I certainly got far more than I ever dreamed I would get with her. So I highly recommend her for any of her programs. I highly recommend her as someone to go to if you are looking to increase what you do with your podcast, make it better. If you're looking to get visibility, definitely speak with her. You will not go wrong with her or anyone on her staff.
Hello, everyone. And just like that, we are back. And I have the amazing Shayna Rattler Davis. And let me tell you something. Before the commercial break, we was deep diving in a deep conversation for those of you who are just taking these pennies, nickels, and dimes. And she is opening and expanding our minds to corporate contracts, using your podcast not as a hobby, but as an income generation magnet and machine. And back we have with us today, wow, like you just really just dropped the mic, because so many podcasters, because it's trending. And I would say that lightly, because when people see something that is trending and a lot of people that they feel as a lot of people is doing it, they start jumping on the bandwagon, not understanding the work, the time, the effort that it takes. And they don't understand how to transition to what you build with multimedia streams of income, like life-changing. And so with that being said, I know you said that you use podcasting as the center of your strategy. And even when you're helping your clients build this influence in this new influence economy. But what do you believe why do you believe that podcasts are essential right now in this time to building a thriving multimedia empire, especially for those who are in entrepreneurship?
Yeah. A podcast is the modern day media vehicle, and it gives you the opportunity for massive reach and unlimited income potential. If you think about the way that streaming revolutionized the way that we watch television, podcasting has revolutionized the way that people consume content. People are listening to podcasts at alarming rates. I don't even try to keep up with the number anymore of like the percentage of like how many podcast listeners there are, because there's so many millions and millions of those, and it continues to grow and evolve. Some people are turning to podcasting even just for their forms of entertainment. But I think that it's one of those things like social media, Tina. It's not going anywhere. Like, it is not going anywhere. Social media is not going anywhere. Streaming is not going anywhere. Podcasting is definitely not going anywhere. And so for somebody that might be thinking like, oh my gosh, like there's like, all of these millions, there's over 3 million podcasts in the world. How in the world can I get traction? Well, I'm the perfect example. I've grown my show to be in the top 3% out of over 3 million shows that are out there. And so once you get clear on who it is that you serve and how it is that you help them, it definitely is a place to be. I'm just not a fan of doing anything that doesn't lead to something. Like there, I was at PodFest at the beginning of this year. At the time of this recording, it's 2025. And at the beginning of this year, I was a speaker at PodFest, which is a large conference for podcast hosts and content creators. And I met a number of people that, quite frankly, they were intimidated by the largeness of the conversation that I was having about what's possible for a podcast host. And I had several people in particular, Tina, tell me that even if only just 5 people listen to my show, I'm happy. Now, for me and mine, the Bible says, for me and my house, we shall serve the Lord. For me and my house, there are so many other things that I can do that do not require the same level of effort and resources that a podcast does, if that's all I care about is reaching 5 people. So again, podcasting can work if you work it, but are we going to treat it like an asset, or are we going to treat it like a hobby? I taught a class about a month ago, and I was sharing some best practices of how you get traction in having a podcast. And the very first thing that I told them, I said, before I teach you any of the best practices of what I believe got my show to be so successful, I'm going to tell you that if you're not going to take it serious and you're not going to treat it like a serious business asset, don't start one or shut it down. Because it's a lot. If you're going to have an interview show, there's processes that you have to have in place to get guests. You have to get the guest booked. You have to record it. You have to edit it. You have to promote 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 it. All of those things take time. All those things take effort and resources. And if you're not going to, in my opinion, if you're not going to utilize it as a lead generation tool, and even more importantly, a lead generation tool that can give you predictable and scalable income streams, I just don't know why you would want to spend all of that time, all of that effort, and all of those resources just to have a show that's probably not even discoverable.
Yes. And we're living in this time where people sometimes just want to do it just to say that they have done something. And listen, you only have so much life to live. And I'm on you. I'm on that boat with you. Like, I'm not trying to do anything that is going to take up an enormous amount of my time that is not, I want it to make an impact, but I also want the income that goes along with that impact. So it can justify me not spending as much time as I want with my family. Because right now I could be spending time with my family, kicking my feet up, but this is justifiable because it's taking me one step closer to the income and keeping my income. I tell people all the time, podcasting has opened up so many doors for me. From speaking paid things, speaking engagements, books, magazines, patronizing the business, purchasing equipment. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so I'm really glad that we're having this conversation. And not only that we're having it, but it's between two women.
Yes.
Because most of the time when we're having this type of deep conversation, it's between the guys. The girls are not having this type of conversation. It's more happy with rose petals and listen, it's gonna be okay. And we're like, listen, honey, we're gonna.
I'm not the girl. I'm not the girl for you if you're looking for that. If you're looking for the mentor or the coach or the advisor that's gonna tiptoe through the tulips with you and tell you what you want to hear and sugarcoat it, and I'm not giving you the sandwich method. I'm not going to build you up before I give you the critique and then build. I don't have time for that. I'm just going to tell you how it is. So if you're looking for that, I'm not the girl for you.
I want it straight and dry and give it to me like it is. Even if I maybe don't like the delivery, give it to me so I can work on it because it's time for execution, right?
Yeah.
And so as women, we need to shift our mindset that we need to be you need to be more firm. You need to have more direction. You need to have focus. You need to go in the room winning. Okay. Not allowing all the other variables and thinking about this person, that person. No. Think about your initial goal. And I'm a fan of writing down what is your number? What is it that will be a life-changing amount of income for you? What will motivate you to get up on those days that you say, I'm not feeling this today. But then you think about your income and you're like, well, maybe I could just get up and, get everything done. Because I have had those moments where I said, well, I'm getting paid a good comma for this. People laugh at me all the time. I say, well, if it don't have a comma in it, I'm not moving. Like, don't call me if it don't have a comma. They were like, Tina, you for real? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, uh-huh. If it don't have a comma in it, don't call me.
I'm so very serious. Now, obviously, there are things that I do to give back, but that's usually to girls and people. I'm not even necessarily underprivileged, but that's usually to girls. If I'm going to give back, it's because it's to girls or at my church. Outside of that, there was a time in my business and in my life that I had to. Like there are things that sometimes that you have to do in the beginning because no one knows who you are. They don't know who you exist. You don't have the credibility. You don't have the metrics. You don't have the logos and all the things. But I've been in this game since 2006. Commas, I'm the same. I don't move if it doesn't have a comma.
Yeah. But see, we been in it longer than the average person. So that's why it's my just due. Now I still do things for the community too. So don't get twisted. Y'all know y'all see me over here doing community work, but I'm just saying if it's something dealing with business because I put aside so much time, so much effort, so much money, so much resources that I'm just going to give out. Yeah. That's what I do. But once I reach that number, not unless God move me to say, okay, you need to do a little extra. If I get nudged by him, I do it. But other than that, you have to be strategic, and we have to start talking money, ladies. We
Yes.
have to get used to speaking about money and not being uncomfortable. And I'm not talking about a little bit. I'm talking about large amounts of money that will blow your mind. I have noticed with women in general, we're not comfortable with having these mastermind money conversations. It's something about it that makes us feel uncomfortable. Well, not me, but make women feel a little uncomfortable. So why do you
Part of
think?
the reason why I named my program Make Millions Podcasting.
Mhm.
And I'm okay that it's intimidating, but staying comfortable and, people spoon feeding us and not calling us up to a higher vision is not going to position us to be able to have the type of legacy that we want to leave. Forget about the financial gains now, but what about tomorrow? Like, what about what we're leaving behind? What about, do you not want your point of view and expertise to be what ChatGPT is pulling in the future when people are asking AI questions?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes,
You know?
yes. And I know we gonna be in there, but but you guys need to make sure that you're in there. And so I know, now men, we have these conversations. I have so many conversations with men on money because listen, only thing a powerhouse man want to talk about is how they're gonna make more money. And so I just need for women, us as a collective, to get more comfortable with this so we can start making these big money moves together. But for someone who may be starting fresh and hearing this idea and seeing two women speaking so boldly about a conversation that usually you don't see women speaking about the dollar amount and also transitioning, open your mind up. It may be feeling, I'm sure they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed. But what's the very first step you would say, or would you recommend that they can do in order to begin to start building this multimedia platform or legacy of which you was talking about? How can they actually start doing that now?
I'm going to go back to the example that I gave with the transcendent brand. You have to look at how you're positioning yourself. Everything starts with positioning. And so if you are serving a narrow niche now, I want you to ask yourself, what are the broader themes of what it is that you do? I want you to start asking yourself, what's the broader problem that you solve, right? So if we go back to the example with the health coach, if you're a health coach that's helping women lose weight, well, yeah, losing weight is part of it, but what is the broader problem that you solve? So I really want people to spend 30 minutes today, not tomorrow, but sometime today, whenever you're listening to this episode, I want you to spend 30 minutes asking yourself, what is the broader problem that you solve? What expertise positions you as relevant beyond your podcast, beyond your little niche? Because that's what's going to be essential for attracting bigger opportunities. After you've done that, begin to do some research on what is the language that you should begin to use in order to say that you now help to solve that broader problem, because you've got to get just as comfortable using the language of the broader theme of your expertise, just like you are with whatever it is that you're doing right now. And if you're listening to this and you haven't started anything, whether you're inside of a company or whether or not you're starting something of your own, then you're in the best place to start, because then you don't even have to pivot. All you have to do is ask yourself, who do you want to be the hero to? And once you determine who it is that you want to be the hero to, what problem do you want to help them win? How do you want to help them win so that you can begin to get comfortable with that language? Once you feel like you have discovered what that is, I want you to ask yourself, would a corporation bring me in to help their company do that, or to help the people inside of their company do that? Would a show like a local news station or the Today Show, would that be broad enough for it to get attention on a news station? Would that be something that if I wanted to write a book about it, that the mass market would potentially buy that book? So let me use myself for example. My next book is about influence. My next book is not about podcasting. The publishers are going to recognize the ability to sell a book on how we make our influence more of an asset? I don't want to give away the title because it's not trademarked yet, but how do we make our influence more of an asset so that we can have more income and we can have more impact? They're going to look at the ability to be able to sell that book to a lot more people than if I wrote a book about how your podcast can help you do that. So once you think you have discovered what your transcendent brand should be, I want you to ask yourself, does that have a broad mass market appeal? If it doesn't, ask ChatGPT. This is what it is that I'm considering doing. This is the problem that I want to solve. Why would a corporation pay me to come in to help their company or their team with that? And see what it tells you so that you can begin to position yourself as that, because then that umbrella gives you the ability to find so many lanes that you can serve. And you won't be able to do that if you start with just a small sliver of how you can help people.
I love it. And thank you for that example, because, illustrations help us be able to understand information more better. And also being so transparent with breaking the thing down, because I feel like with so many people in this new digital world doing so many digital things such as content creation, podcasting, streaming, just the idea of the concept, because they didn't, to think about it, I'm going to age myself a little bit. When I went to school, going to college, there wasn't no class talking about podcasts and the media streaming. I mean, when we were smaller, they wasn't asking you when they asked you this question, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? There wasn't anyone saying, I want to be a podcaster. I want to be a content creator. No, but now this is a thing. Oh, I want to be an influencer. Now you have children saying they want to be an influencer, right? And so with this shift, we don't have everything now is being built right now with thought leaders such as yourself and myself that is actually going through the trenches, learning how to do certain things. Yeah. The instruction manual is being built right now in front of your face. Yeah. Like Shayna is building right in your face right now. And so that's what I'm saying. So, wow. When I think about you, I think about that you have a strong, in my opinion, you are very purpose driven. You're very intentional on how you're going to do what you do. And you're very direct on the result you want to have at the end of whatever it is that you're doing. How can we reframe our mindset as content creators, podcasters, or even entrepreneurs for that fact of going in the initial idea of it all and having it mapped out so that we will get the results or work towards the result that we would like to have?
We have to recognize that people make decisions from a place of emotion, not always from a place of logic. And oftentimes when we're talking about what it is that we do, how it is that we help people, we believe that we're speaking to the outcome that they get, but we're really talking about our process. And nobody cares about your process. You have to be able to paint the vision of what things are going to look like on the other side. Like, this is what you're experiencing now and how it's making you feel. This is what things could look like on the other side. And here's what's possible for you on the other side. Because if you can, quote unquote, sell them on that or get their buy-in or agreement on that, they don't care so much about your process. You know, if you fall and break a hip, you don't care if your surgeon is going to lay you down supine on a table and do a deep transverse cut. The only thing you care is, when I get up from here, am I going to be able to walk without pain and without a limp? And so when you start with the end in mind, you have to recognize, and this is a saying that has been around for years, is that features tell, but benefits sell. What's in it for me? I don't care how many modules you have. I don't care about your framework. All of that's lovely. I'm glad you have one. I'm glad you put your time into creating a framework. I have them too. I'm a blueprint and framework girl. But when someone comes to me, they want to hear, like, listen, are you currently living the life that you're born for? Do you feel like you're just on this content creation hamster wheel? You know, are you visible and not profitable? Are you, all the different things that that you're experiencing, that they're saying like, heck yes, pick me, like we're watching a 2 a.m. infomercial. Then I'm going to be able to say, well, what if I could show you how to take the vehicle of podcasting that everybody loves, everybody wants to do nowadays. And I could actually show you how to take that platform, and I could actually show you how to create life-changing income, the type of income that's going to change your life, the type of income, the type of thing that's going to change an entire industry, that can leave an entire legacy. Do you think they care that it's 4 modules and that each module is 10 minutes and you're going to get a video and a PDF? No. If anything, if you start to get too hung up in the details, you're going to create objection. You're going to confuse them, and a confused mind does nothing, especially buy.
Yes. So you just gave us basically how we should be pitching and how we should have these, I call them core conversations. Let me just give a shout out to KBBU University, because that's what they taught me when I went to school. Those core communications and how you communicate, because like you said, people don't care about the process. We care because we had to learn and go through it, but they don't care. They want to know, are you going to help solve my problem? And would I get the result that I want, that I'm emotionally attached to, that I want to feel? I want to experience.
Here's the other thing that is so important. If you don't hear anything else that I say, you have to use language that they use. The problem that you say they solve has to be the problem that they recognize they have. What are they saying to themselves because it's keeping them up at night? No one's laying in bed, if I could just have influence, if I could just leave a legacy, if I could just thrive. That's not language that your consumer is using. So you have to solve a problem that they recognize they have, and you have to use language that they use. If not, they're probably not even going to see themselves inside of what it is that you say you can do.
So that's a good point. So could you like give them like one question that they could ask to kind of draw out the response that they need to get in order to help the person? Say, for example, you may be having a conversation. You know how people do one-on-one discovery calls. That's big now. Discovery calls, let's have this little conversation. And you're trying to figure out what it is that they need help with. Is there any like one question that a newbie could use to try to figure out how they can better service a person and come up with being able to give them something that they need help with, and then they can turn the languaging around to be able to help them?
Absolutely. So you want to ask them about what I call future perfect. You want to say, if there were no limitations, if money wasn't an object, time wasn't like, if there were no limitations, what would your life or your business, whatever the area is, what would that look like 6 months from now? Or if you've got a 90-day solution, how would you describe your life, your business, your whatever your thing is 90 days from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, however long it is that you think that you can get them results? And I ask that at the beginning, because then I'm going to mirror their level of emotion. Now when we talk about matching energy, I'm going to match their energy. I'm going to use words that they use. Everything I say, I'm going to tie it back to what it is that they told me they want. Now, not in a bait and switch type of way, not in an inauthentic kind of way, but you do that so that they can hear what it is that they know is in their head, so that they can hear what it is that's in their heart, and so that they can see what it is in their mind. So ask them, what would it look like if you had absolutely no obstacles in your way? What would it look like X number of days, months, years from now? And here's the other thing. And if you realize when they say that down and deep down and deep down and deep down, that you can't help them do that, say so. I love that for you. And I have to be 100% honest. I'm not the person to help you with that. But that's hard to do when we're in scarcity.
Not me.
We'll say yes to anything. And then, clients that are a pain end up being a pain. If they're a pain during the initial process, they end up being a pain afterwards.
Yes, yes. I ask questions and I'm like, what is your expectation? Why are we having this conversation? What made you call me? And
Yeah.
then I want to hear what you expect from getting service with me. And if it doesn't line up, if it don't make sense, I'm like, listen, I'm so glad that we had this conversation. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you, but I am not the right person for you.
That's right.
And I close that conversation because what you do not want to do is to go into something because all money is not good money, and this is not your avatar, like they like to say in business. This is not your person, and you take the money and you know that this is not going to work.
Yeah.
And
And if
now
the
you,
conversation is just
yeah,
difficult, back
yes,
to when I was at Podfest, I was talking on stage about having a transcendent brand. And then, of course, everyone was lined up, like, help me create what my transcendent brand is. If I've got to fight you just in the conversation, like my mentor says, you're always going to be the CEO of YOU. I'm just telling you what I recommend from my experience. You don't have to do any of this. But if that feels like tug of war, just trying to have a conversation about how you can help them, that is a good indication of what it's going to be like, even more so when they invest their money.
Woo. Listen, I hope you guys heard what she just said. And for those of you who love replays, which we do over here, you need to go back and listen to that little piece right there, because that little piece, because they are giving you a foreshadow on how it's going to be. Listen, my piece is too valuable. There is no dollar amount that I can put on my peace, my mental health. And so it's just certain things that I will not do. I don't care if the money is extraordinary,
Yeah.
but it's
That's
not
the other
worth
reason
it.
why you need to be trying to get these deals from bigger companies, because when you start dealing with a larger scale organization, a lot of that is not there. They're not spending their money. You know what I mean? So you don't have that level of tug of war and that level of tension, which is the other reason why, don't get me wrong, I'm always going to offer opportunities for consumers and business owners, because I want to see you win. I want to see you create influence on your own terms. But there's always going to be a part of my business that is big checks from large organizations, because it comes with even if the sales cycle is longer, the check is bigger, and oftentimes it just comes with more grace and ease, and you don't have the same level of friction and noise that you potentially have when you're selling to consumers. So
That is true. And they have a certain amount of money, corporations, that they are going to pay towards certain things. And my experience working with having some corporate deals versus regular 9 to 5, which is fine because I love both sides, but I have noticed it's less stressful because they don't call you as much. They don't reach out as much. I mean, you like literally have to go to them like, hey,
y'all still there?
you dropped the check and here is the deliverable.
Yeah.
You want, like, it's like a total, like, oh, we know you cool. Just send it to XYZ. It's all right. We have your ticket. We got everything booked. You're cool. You need something else?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like,
You want chicken or beef?
yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. You want to bring a +1? You bringing another person with you? Do you need one for your stylist?
What's your assistant's date of birth so we can book her flight also?
Exactly. It's like a whole different. If you have not experienced it, you need to experience it. And if you want to experience it, I'm not booking nobody for no corporate nothing. You need to talk to Shayna.
I have a free gift that I would love to give them. If you are interested in how you can take your show and begin to if you want to learn how to like turn your show into a magnet so that you can get those sponsors, those stages, those 6-figure opportunities. And this is whether you're launching or whether you're already live. I actually have a free resource called the Profit Ready Podcast. And it is a PDF that is chocked full of strategies. And it also comes with an audio course as well. And they can get that at profitreadypodcast.com. Again, that's profitreadypodcast.com. And it's completely complimentary. No codes needed. I had to stop that, child. I had a paid thing that I was like, enter the code free, and people didn't know how to follow instructions. And then I was always getting an email like, can I have my $47 back? Because I don't know how to follow instructions. So listen, it's completely complimentary. You don't have to put in a credit card. You don't have to do anything, but just put in your email address. You'll get the PDF, you'll get the audio course, and you will be on your way to becoming a magnet for high value opportunities.
Listen, I totally appreciate that. And I'm pretty sure, I know you guys better appreciate it. Let me stop this. This is amazing. But I am so glad that you came on today. Is there anything else you would like to share with our viewing and listening audience? Like if you have anything going on, an event, a course, a book, whatever it is, we want to know what you want them to
say. Follow me on Instagram. I'm Shayna Rattler Davis over there. Two T's in Rattler, a Y in Shayna. So Shayna Rattler Davis on Instagram is where I'm the most active. And that's also where anytime I ever have anything going on or coming up, you know that you can grab me. You can pretty much stay abreast there. I would also tell people, go listen to the podcast, because every Monday on the Influence Economy podcast, we're talking about how women can create influence on their own terms. And that is, how do you get bigger deals? How do you have thought leadership that gets you book deals? And it's not just about the money, but it's about how can we really amplify our influence and make it bankable, even when you're in male dominated spaces. So if you're listening to this, this is not just for entrepreneurs. This is for women who want to learn how to unapologetically have their influence at the forefront, whether you're in a male dominated space working for somebody else, whether you work for yourself. We talk about those types of things every single Monday on the Influence Economy podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we will definitely be subscribing and following and listening ourselves, because I am a person who loves to learn and then execute, especially from individuals who's doing amazing things. So thank you so much for leaving all those tips and strategies. Also for the free gift, make sure to follow Shayna Davis on all social media platforms. But you heard her say that she is mostly active on Instagram, and maybe at another time we will have another conversation on how you can leverage your podcast on social media the right way, because that's a whole different conversation all to itself. We'll be here a whole nother hour talking about all the do's and the don'ts, which you guys be doing with these podcasts. But anyway, thank you so much for giving us your time. And thank you for being a featured guest, because you really did open our minds and open up the conversation, especially for women who are watching today, even though we have men and women, to have these money-making move conversations that are life-changing, and to see you doing the exact thing about. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And yes. So right now, we're going to go ahead and end the show. Make sure to watch us like you always do. Same time, same place at 5:55 p.m. EST. And you can watch us on all social media platforms, podcasting, as well as TV by downloading the CTR Media Network app today. Let me go ahead and pop it up on the screen where you can actually scan the QR code and go ahead and download the app. It's absolutely free. This is our way of giving back to you. That's why we bring on powerhouses like Shayna Davis and so much more, so that you cannot have the excuse in 2025 and beyond saying, I did not know. No, you know. Now you need to do. All right. And so go ahead and download the app today. We will see you next week, same time, same place.
Hey Think Fam, it's your favorite host, Michael Finkley, and you can listen to us on CTR Media Network. Go listen in.
Here's why you need to tune in right now. With CTR Media Network, you can transform your knowledge into a fully produced TV show. Imagine your content streaming on platforms like Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV, reaching over 350 million households in 140 countries. We take care of everything, from managing your ready-to-go content to global distribution. And it's not just any content, it's edutainment, a perfect blend of education and entertainment that keeps viewers coming back for more. You'll join a vibrant community of thought leaders, podcasters, and educators, all sharing a passion for impactful content and global reach. Plus, with our app available on Google Play and the App Store, your show will be accessible to millions more, ready to shine on the global stage. Let's get you started. Schedule a 15-minute call with us today and turn your idea into a TV sensation. Reply to this video by saying, "I want to learn more." Don't wait, your audience is out there waiting.